Can you escape your past? Can wholeness really be deleted? Do we believe that?
No.
I would say to an extent.
I feel like after about like 5 years, it don't count no more. 4 or 5 years. You know what I'm
100%.
saying? Like, first of all, I don't like when men are mad for things that I've done
Did
before
before
you.
you. Oh
Like,
my
if I
God,
did not
yes.
even meet you, if you weren't even a visual representation in my life,
right.
you should not care. That's how I feel.
Now, obviously, men or people in general shouldn't necessarily be mad about things that you've done before them. What people fail to understand is that if I was a serial killer 5 years ago, and obviously this is an extreme example to prove my point, that doesn't mean that, okay, I'm like, oh, well, I used to do it 5 years ago and I don't anymore. It's like there are consequences to certain things that you do. And whether you're a promiscuous man or a promiscuous woman, there are tells that regardless how much you lie about how many people you've been with, you move differently than someone who chose to be more careful with who they chose to lay down with. Now, let's look at the comments for this video. So here's I think it's a guy, girl, I can't really tell. It literally means nothing. You can be a 403. Isn't it supposed to be a 304? You can be a 403 from 15 to 22-ish. 15 is crazy. Then get your life together and become a wife. I'm so tired of women being held to a different standard as if y'all don't need our bodies to get your bodies. So that's probably a girl. Now, what's weird about that is technically, yes, if you wanted to go out and be hyper promiscuous at a certain age and then stopped and took the time to go to therapy, invest in your mental health and emotional health, cleanse yourself spiritually, because obviously laying down with someone is a spiritual exchange, then maybe the men that you interact with would not be able to tell. But you don't do any of that. You just think, okay, I'm going to have all these hypersexual pictures all over my social media. I'm going to stay in the city, the town, the state I grew up in, depending on, those things. And you get mad when you're dating this guy and you guys go out to the club and 20 guys walk up to you and hug and give you a kiss on the cheek and give him this look like, yo, we used to mess around back in the day. And he's looking like, bro, what? I didn't know that. What's the next comment say? It don't work like that. We care because it lets us know what you're capable of and what could possibly happen if triggered and in the wrong way. Now, what I think he means by that is if you were so used to just laying down with any and everybody, who's to say when you're upset with me, when we're arguing, when we're fighting, when there's some type of miscommunication, you will not just go back to old habits and just laying down with a bunch of guys again. This next guy says, yes, men care. No one wants to be walking around with someone everybody knows well. Yes, exactly. I just gave that example. But I feel like the reason there's always this weird double standard and back and forth when it comes to hyper promiscuous men and hyper promiscuous women is because women don't mind. The vast majority of them do not mind how many people you've been with as a man. And usually it's a sign that you know what you're doing. I'm sure you can find videos all over the internet, all over YouTube, TikTok, if you talk to female friends you have, that they would rather a guy that's had a bunch of bodies than a guy who's had no experience. They will for both, hooking up in short-term relationships and long-term relationships. And now a man who wants a long-term relationship is not going to lean into a woman that has a bunch of bodies over a woman who doesn't have as many. Now, obviously, it's a preference. On top of the fact that as a man, you have to become something of substance and status to be able to lay down with a bunch of women. Excuse me. As opposed to women, you don't. Women laying down with men in a sexual way, I obviously have to censor because of YouTube, it's like picking up a rock. Like if I'm a guy and I'm like, hey, look at all these skills I have, I can just pick up this rock. You'd be like, okay, like you don't have to do anything for it. You could go out on the street and be like, hey, listen, who wants to sleep with me? And a bunch of guys would line up. As a man, you cannot do that. You can't. It's just not like that. And the link in my bio has all my socials. We're almost at 20,000 followers and like 1 million likes on TikTok. Thank y'all so much. I'll catch you on the next one.